The Miami Hurricanes defense is allowing just 76 rushing yards per game, but next time out, they're going up against the top rushing offense in Power 4 football. Something's got to give.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and host of Postgame on the Hurricanes radio network. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. On this loaded episode, kickoff time has been announced for Miami at Florida State October 4th. And surprise, surprise, it's in prime time. We'll talk about it. There are some of these weird Carson Beck conspiracies that national hosts have been talking about since the Florida game. I would love the opportunity to debunk, and we'll take that opportunity today. And yeah, as we bring in the truth teller here on a Truth Teller Tuesday. So, Bruce, Florida State has played a couple of cadavers their last couple of weeks. So I give them credit for stomping Alabama week 1. But FSU, behind Thomas Castellanos, who's a dynamic running quarterback, they've used the opportunity to become the second best rushing offense in America behind only Navy, who only does that. So number one in Power 4 football. They scored 8 rushing touchdowns against Kent State last week. Do you believe Miami's rushing defense, which is 13th nationally, gives up just 76 yards on the ground per game? Is Miami going to be up to the challenge on October 4th?
Yeah, this is a different animal. This is a very athletic football team, Florida State. But as you said, who have they really played? And when they beat Alabama, they were horrible. Alabama that couldn't hit a brick wall if it was right in front of them, Simpson. So it's kind of hard to gauge when they roll up the score on some of these teams. That's just their mentality up there. Mario doesn't do that, but it's okay. Look, that's going to be a typical Florida State Miami, the way it used to be. And the physicality up front is going to be critical. Can they stop our running game? That's important for them to figure out. And what is going on with Carson Beck, as you said? I thought the other day he was a little off with his footwork. Not you. If you ask Mario that, he may or may not admit it. But there were passes he was throwing, arm throwing, and he wasn't stepping into it. That pass he threw to Brown in the flat, he was like off balance. He threw it over somebody's head, and it wasn't really at Brown. He had to make this great catch, and that turned out to be the play of the game.
It did.
Other than the play that they didn't let happen, which is when he got the touchdown, and they never should have blown the whistle because it would have been 20-0, and the Gators could, kiss their chop goodbye. But it didn't turn out that way. But they mauled them in the fourth quarter. Florida State is not Florida. Florida State is better than Florida. I think this is going to be a game that goes to the wire. Although, and sometimes in games like this, somebody gets out in front and it just snowballs and it's a blowout. I don't know yet. I haven't really thought about it. But what I am saying to you is, and I know it's happening now, you're concerned about an injury to Carson Beck. I don't see that at all.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not.
I know, but you mentioned these conspiracies. I think they're going to the drawing board this week. I think they have to work on his mechanics a little bit. Florida is a good defense. They kind of pressured him a little bit. So he was not in a rhythm. But he has to be in a rhythm. And they have to make sure their offense moves Florida State all over the place. They can't run up the middle 40 times in one game. I expect them to be on the same page. I think the offense is going to get criticized, which is good. I like it like that. If we would have really destroyed Florida, who knows? But they have to go back to their drawing board. The offense needs some corrections. They need to be a lot smoother. They were very hit and miss on Saturday night. Very. Defensively, swarming to the ball, knocking people all over the place. Look, I'm going to watch, and I think you guys should watch too, Florida State at Virginia Friday night. And let's see how Virginia defends Castellanos. If they can keep him in the pocket and make him a pure pocket passer, he's good, but he's way more dangerous when he gets to the outside. I'm looking for that. I don't think necessarily Heatherman's going to change the defense that much, but I'll bet he tweaks it. I would assume there's going to be a spy on this kid, because you could have 3rd and 11. He'll break it down and get a first down. You can't have that. So they have a lot to focus on, even though they did win, even though we're number 2. To me, that's meaningless. It's one game at a time, and I want to go 1-0 a week from Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, if Miami can actually force Florida State into 3rd and longs and make Castellanos a quote-unquote pocket passer, that's a recipe for big-time success, because what Florida State, and obviously there's a lot more value in what they did to Alabama than what they did to East Texas A&M or Kent State, but with their ability to win on first downs and second downs, they're facing 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, if even 3rd down comes up at all.
Right.
They're moving the chains. They're staying in front of the chains. I would imagine that Castellanos it's what he does. Like, he puts his body on the line. He runs a ton. Miami's going to be hitting him pretty hard compared to the other teams that he's faced so far.
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
Start, getting a little bit more timid late in the game would be my hope. And, you mentioned swarming for Miami's defense. It's what they've done so well under Corey Heatherman. You remember, Bruce, and when I watched the Florida game for the first time, I was in the stadium. I wasn't listening to the commentary. I went back and watched it a second time on TV the other day, and there was one point where Chris Fowler and Herb Street are saying, does Miami have 15 guys on the field?
Right.
And how are there so many guys over the football? And every time they're tackling, they're gang tackling. This is, Bruce, I'll say this is a good challenge for Miami's rushing defense. I love the fact that Corey Heatherman has an extra week to prepare and scheme for this.
Me too.
And I take nothing away from Castellanos, who's doing a fantastic job. And I went over the stat line from a couple of years ago. You don't put much value in this because a completely different scheme for Miami, a lot of different defensive players. But when Castellanos faced Miami at Boston College, Miami won that game comfortably 2 years ago, but he did put up 130 rushing yards.
Right.
Tommy did, which was
that's what he's good at, and he didn't have anywhere near the talent he's got now. Although the receivers are relatively inexperienced, but I think this game is going to be won or lost in the trenches on both sides of the ball.
Yeah,
turnovers obviously, but whoever rushes for more yards is probably going to win the game. But I think I usually fear these buys. We've always feared these buys for years. Buys we come off, we're terrible. I don't think we're going to be terrible. I think this buy helps us, because I know Mario, even though I saw the press conference, I saw him Monday, you can tell. I mean, I can tell when he's happy with the win, but he's not happy at all. He is furious about the offensive line mistakes and the lack of continuity with the passing game. I just know him. He's not happy, and I know that they're working with Beck. I'm not worried about his arm whatsoever, but he's got to get that ball out of his hands. I think they need to throw screens. This is a different defense. He can't sit in that pocket too long. So crossing routes, getting Lofton involved, things like that, that's going to be Miami's offense. And if they have a chance, they can go over the top if Florida State comes up. And you can't start throwing bombs right from the beginning unless you see single coverage and you play action and you got Josh Moore flying down the field. But you know what? I thought, wasn't there a pass maybe they didn't even throw long. I remember the touchdown to Josh Brown. He was wide open and he underthrew that. Now that I think about it, and Josh had to jump up. Josh Moore had to jump up and make that catch.
Yeah, he had to pull it over the helmet of the defender.
But
that was probably that was the most successful deep. There's been a couple of deep shots that were either not accurate, or there were a couple times we got pass interference penalties off of deep shots, which is nothing wrong with that.
So we don't have much to talk about for this week because we're not playing this week. Yeah. But I do want to see Florida State, and Clemson lost again. There's all this Dabo Sweeney stuff, and I know you're not a psychologist, but I've watched some of your shows when I'm not on, and I hear the word narcissist all the time.
He's a narcissist. He
is a narcissist.
Textbook.
Yeah, he is. And I didn't realize he was like this. So I don't know if he's going to be there. I think he's trying to angle himself to get the hell out of there. I don't think they're going to fire him. It would cost them a fortune.
Yeah, $60 million it would cost them to fire Dabo. He's in for a few more years at least. Yeah.
Well, unless he quits and wants to go someplace else, but if he quits, he's got to know he's going someplace else.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe the Gators, but you say he's not into the portal, so they don't like that.
the Gators, like, they're one of the many complaints. They've got like 3,000 complaints about Billy Napier, the Gator fans. But one of those complaints is that they don't use the transfer portal enough. So Dabo's not the guy that they're looking for. But I do want to, when we come back, I want to get into, and I was a little bit surprised. People started sending me stuff from some national shows yesterday, like Cover 3, where they're having these discussions about Carson Beck's arm. And I'm like, that's the take we're getting after one game. That's the take we're going with. So I want to talk about these conspiracies when we come back. You want to keep it locked right here. We got the truth teller with us, Bruce Warner, on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Keep it locked. Folks, this episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home. Whether it's the local sports bar that's packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. And when the neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Guys, I've got a local corner coffee spot where they know double espresso for this guy every time I come in. I love when the food trucks get together in my neighborhood. Spending money at these spots doesn't just support the businesses, it supports the people behind it and the community around it. Folks, these local spots are what make the neighborhood feel like home, and so many of them run on Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. We'll see you in the neighborhood. Oh, we're also brought to you by Game Time. Had a lot of happy customers these first 4 home games, getting their tickets at Game Time, getting the best deals at the last minute. Guys, college football is the absolute best. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can sometimes feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. But that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Folks, I love the zone deals too. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. And we've got an offer for you. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code Locked On College, and they'll give you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code Locked On College for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen on a Truth Teller Tuesday. Bruce Warner is with us. So, Bruce, my listeners started to send me clips on Monday, and I like, this thought had never even gone through my mind. Now, you and I agree that the passing game, for the most part, was out of sync on Saturday. No argument with that. I was saying it during the game. I was saying it after the game. But then I start to see some, national college football analysts putting out these TikTok videos like, hey, it looks like there may be a thing with Carson Beck's. There's not as much zip on his throws. The velocity seems to be dwindling. Like, they're strongly hinting at this maybe being related to the elbow injury. And okay, my first take is I think that's wildly irresponsible to start bringing that up after one game against a really good defensive secondary who does this to every quarterback they face, including Carson Beck last year when he was at Georgia before the injury. So I think it's irresponsible to start jumping to those conclusions based on one game. And I think there was a lot more to it than the zip not being there. You brought up the footwork, the timing was also a thing. So I think there's more to it than that. But at the same time, Bruce, I guess it shouldn't surprise me that people are trying to push this angle now, because a lot of the same national media guys were really overreacting to his recovery from the elbow. Like, I don't know if he's going to be ready this year, or is he going to be able to practice at any point? And then by off-season workouts, Beck was more than fine, had an awesome training camp. But the same people who doubted he would be like ready to start the season are now wondering if the injury is regressing. There's not enough data there, and I didn't see that being the issue with why the passing game wasn't dynamic this past Saturday.
Well, if you're going to say that about Beck, what are these pundits saying about Lagway? Wow, was he horrible, throwing the ball on the ground over people's heads, left and right. Wow. I mean, if you're going to talk about Beck doing that, then what about Lagway? But you know what? I don't care about Lagway. I don't think there's anything wrong with Carson Beck. And I think we'll know in the next couple of days if Emory Williams is getting a lot more snaps, then there's something to worry about. But I doubt it. So that's that. I think they're working with him. I think they know that Florida State is going to come after him. Maybe he does panic a little bit. I don't know, but we've got to get rid of the ball quicker, at least up front in the beginning of this game. Get him in a rhythm.
In my opinion, Florida State's defense is different than Florida's. I don't see Florida State giving Miami's passing game the same kind of problems that Florida did. I'm expecting, and I'm saying this, I think Florida State overall is a much tougher game than Florida was because their offense is so much better. But I don't think Miami's passing game is going to have the same sort of issues against Florida State. I think we'll have more success there.
Well, I don't know, because if you look at the film, you see what Florida did. Florida State, if they were smart, they'd emulate that. They do something very similar. They pressure Beck and let's see what he can do. Because you give him time, he just picks teams apart. So that's why I expect them to go after him. And that's why I expect our offense, I think Dawson and him are going to work on some plays that they need to make sure third and short, whatever, they're going to convert these babies, I like that they got Lofton in the game. I said they were going to, and they did. And I think we got to get Lyle in this game. Lyle has got to get the ball and get to the outside. I'm sure he's healthy. They got to use him in the screens because he's dangerous. You get Fletcher. I think Brown in the screen is better than Fletcher because Brown gets the ball and he's going. Fletcher sometimes he's a little slower. He doesn't get going. He's tough. I want to see what Lyle can do, and I think he could be a big weapon against Florida State. I hope so.
I hope so too. I mean, I hope again. We keep hearing every week, "Oh, he's going to be good to go next game."
I don't want to hear it anymore. I want it in there, baby. Get in the game. You know what? Just walk up to Mario and say, "Give me this clipboard." He throws it on the floor. He goes in the game and he says to Fletcher, "Get out of here."
By the way, I know you and I obviously we have no love for Florida State. And we're going to be watching their game Friday night against Virginia. I'll ask you this question. You can answer it honestly. And if you think it's a stupid question, go ahead, tell me it's a stupid question. But is any part of you actually hoping Florida State wins and looks really good against Virginia? Because that makes our matchup that much bigger, right? Or are you just, Florida State hater? You hope Virginia goes out there and exposes them, which also in that scenario, I mean, if Florida State loses to Virginia, they're going to have an extra chip when they take on Miami, which may not necessarily be a good thing for us. So do you actually hope they beat Virginia and look good doing it?
I hope they get their ass kicked. I don't want Florida State to win. I want to see weaknesses, which is what you said. I don't know if any true Hurricane fan wants them to win, so they're both undefeated. I don't even care if game day shows up. Who cares? All I know is that 7:30 and a week from Saturday, go up to Tallahassee and beat them. That's all I want. That's all I care about is just beating them. I don't care if it's by 1 or if it's by 30. Just win. And I believe that Mario has their attention. Unlike last year when he may have had their attention, but I think the defense was so bad that there was nothing they could do about it. And even if they changed the scheme, I don't know if that would have mattered that much. You still had Messador on the inside. So, now they have the two bookends that are just collapsing that pocket. The guys up front are making a lot of plays. Meanwhile, people keep making comments about Justin Scott. I don't know if he started. He only had like 9 snaps. What happened to him? Did you see that?
I didn't see
the game that much.
I didn't see his snap count was that low. I mean, he's been the third defensive tackle. I think he's provided some really good moments this year. Maybe there was a reason why they just stuck mostly with Moten and Blay, who I thought both played really well. I
don't know, but I don't like to see that. But the Florida State,
if you're telling me he only played 9 snaps against Florida, I think he played about triple that many against South Florida. It was over 20 snaps.
I don't know what happened, but all I know is that I want to see us show up. I think they're going to show up every game. I don't think we're going to see much of a drop off. Is there a point spread for this game yet, or you don't know?
I saw something about Miami being about a touchdown favorite.
Touchdown.
Yeah. Well, I
Wow.
mean, that number's going to change
Yeah,
depending
it'll
on
change.
whatever happens with Florida State on Friday. And Florida State, by the way, is only, last I checked anyway, a 7.5-point favorite against Virginia on Friday night.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
kind of
that number
strange
would
too.
be bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, that's strange too. So
Yeah.
look, no matter what, we have to go out there and be very physical against them and break their will and score early again and take the lead and don't let the crowd get into it because there'll be lunatics up
Oh,
there.
yeah, that's going to be a great crowd because
Yeah.
I mean, and also I think how bad Florida State was last year has made the crowd even louder this year because they have all that pent up frustration. So now it's like if their decibel level would usually be at 100, it's like 150 after they had to sit through 2 and 10 last year.
Well, I know one thing. I don't care who the announcers are for that game. I'm muting it. I do not want to hear that. Oh, I'm going to throw up. I'm getting nauseous. I don't want to hear that crap.
Oh man. Well, there's a few things I want to get to when we come back, including Miami is trending with a defensive lineman in recruiting who has visited all 4 games so far. We're still working on flip candidates, obviously, and yeah, we've got a kickoff time announced for Miami at Florida State, and that game is where it belongs. You want to keep it locked right here. We got the truth teller with us on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Folks, we are proudly brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen. Folks, it's another big moment for the Locked On Network. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Got the truth teller, Bruce Warner, with us. So a recruit, Bruce, is someone who's been rising through the ranks. He's out of St. John Newman High School in Naples, Florida. A defensive lineman, about 275, 6'3.5. Freddy Sainteas has been crystal balled by multiple outlets to become a Miami Hurricane. He has actually visited Frederick Sainteas all 4 games so far. He's been in attendance. Yeah, and so like, this is one of those things. He had like a smaller offer list until recently. Like he's really blowing up his senior year. He's a class of 2026. And so like, Miami's been very much in it for him. So is Florida State, who Miami's going to see in a couple of weeks. But it looks like Freddy Sainteas, and this, I think it's a good job by our staff with evaluations, because this is someone that Miami kind of got in on early, and now his stock is really soaring.
Yeah,
it seems like he could
what
be
is
a
he
Hurricanes.
What is he like? 3 stars at the most?
Yeah, well, he's 3 stars right now. I think he's probably going to get a bump the next time they update their evals, because he's like, the stock is soaring. He kind of came out of nowhere.
Is he one of these guys that has a big upside because he's raw, but he really hasn't done much? Because it's hard to have 3 stars and be spectacular.
I think it's a combination of that, and I don't think the high school he goes to. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Like I'm not an expert. There's a few schools in like the Naples Fort Myers era that I'm very aware of. That is not one of them. So I'm assuming it has to do with where he plays also.
Okay, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what else are we going to do here? I know we're talking about. What did you think Miami did wrong Saturday?
Okay. Procedural penalties. right? I know a couple of those that made the number bigger were where we purposely delayed the game to spread out the punt, which, okay, so you wipe those off the board. We had the snap infractions, which I had initially thought maybe it was the wet ball, but Mario Cristobal explained it that the defensive line was stemming, kind of inducing it, and Florida was successful at that. So that's obviously something, Brockermeyer needs to make sure that gets cleaned up in the future. But it wasn't just that; it was false starts at key times, Bruce. So the game would have gotten out of hand earlier, and of course, the one that was not in Miami's control were the referees, those bozos whistling that Marty Brown touchdown dead.
But they told Mario when the game was over that they were wrong.
Yeah, they told him they messed up, which I appreciate the accountability, because you don't always get that from referees. Are usually like, well, you can't question my authority. At least those told him, like, hey, bro, we messed up. We're so sorry, right? Okay. But
it may have been just one of those guys that made the call. Maybe the back guy, but if the side judge saw that there was nobody had their arms on him, nobody had he wasn't wrapped up. If he was wrapped up, I could see it.
Yeah. So outside of like what I thought went wrong Saturday, we talked about the passing game being out of sync. Had it been in sync, would have been a real legitimate blowout.
Right.
But same thing, like there were times when Miami was marching in Florida territory where, like, a 4th down and 1 turns into a 4th and 6 and a punt because of a procedural penalty, or, your 3rd down gets longer because of a procedural penalty. When we're getting near the red zone, self-inflicted wounds hurt Miami. And I thought those were the big things for me. But outside of that, I thought the Hurricanes played tremendously well, Bruce. I mean, this defense has looked completely new and completely revamped under Corey Heatherman with the personnel that they've added. You know who I wanted to shout out, who's been playing really well? He's playing so well that you sometimes forget he's on the field. Xavier Lucas.
Oh, Xavier Lucas.
Xavier Lucas, they're not throwing at him, Bruce. Like, he's playing so well that it's like you forget. The guy played 29, 30 snaps in the game. It's like, if you had told me, hey, Xavier Lucas missed the game, I wouldn't have questioned. I wouldn't, like, really? But no, the guy played 30 snaps.
Right, I didn't really hear his name at all. But you know what? You know who's been laying the wood? Torre. Ooh, he's been hitting people really hard.
Yeah,
really
we
hard.
need that next week against Florida State.
Yeah, we need to wrap up when we tackle these guys. We can't if they start running the ball, we're in trouble. But look, I like our team. I don't think I'm going to use the word choke this year. I don't know, but I think now all of a sudden the onus is on the offense to do better, because if they start out like they just finished, or they finished well, but in the middle of the game when they struggle, it just seems like they take their foot off the gas for whatever the reason, but they can't. I don't know why he didn't throw the ball deep this week. I know they're playing 2 deep safeties, and I expect Florida State's going to do the same thing, I would think. So Miami needs to get the ball underneath and just get it to the playmakers and let them take off. That's what I hope happens. It's too early to get caught up in it. It's like I have another 9-10 days to breathe before I start getting nervous again. But you know what? Even when they played Florida State, when Florida State was great, we weren't that good, or vice versa, it's still Florida State. It just is what it is. And I'm always nervous because you don't want to lose to them. You just don't. But I know we only have a few minutes left, but I do want to say this because you and I are on the same page. In a couple of weeks, it may be the Tuesday after Florida State or the following Tuesday, when we do this show, we're going to have Mark Caesar on with us. For those of you who don't know, Mark needs a kidney transplant. He's been on dialysis for years. You guys all know he's my friend, but I want to put him on the show and let him talk and let you guys, I want to do it live if possible, so he could hear you guys wish him well, despite the fact that Mark always perceived himself as a tough guy and a bully from Newark, which is, that's our history. He's scared. And I want him to feel that you guys love him and care about him. I want him to go into that surgery knowing that the Canes have his back. So I'm hoping you guys will join us that day and either write something or call in and talk to Mark. And we're trying to get Mario on. I want to try to get Mario on, even for 30 seconds, to wish him well, because that'll help Mark a lot, because that's his former teammate,
Yeah, we love Mark, and listen, no matter how tough anyone is going into a kidney transplant. You know, a life-saving procedure is a big-time procedure. Man, I want him to feel all the love and all the positive vibes and all the prayers that we can possibly give him, because that's big.
I know it's big. He wants me to be up there when he has the surgery, because I'm like his father. You know, his mom passed, and I've known Mark for 35 years. So
yeah.
But yeah, let's get back to this. But I'll remind everybody next week too, because I think it's important to make him feel loved and wanted and have support of you guys. Okay. All right.
God bless Mark Caesar. We love him. And the last thing I have to say, Bruce, is it was announced yesterday, Miami at Florida State, October 4th. It's going to be primetime on ABC, 7:30 p.m., as it should be. That's where Miami versus Florida State belongs. A lot of people are asking, is College GameDay going to go there? I think there's a good chance. They
didn't announce that. I thought they announced
no, they didn't, because they don't decide that till the week before the game.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to decide it probably on late Saturday night. They're going to announce it. But I mean, assuming Florida State beats Virginia, I don't see. I'm gonna look at. Hold on, let me pull up the week 6 schedule, which is what that is in college football.
While you're looking it up, I want to know your answer to the question you asked me.
What was that?
Do you want Virginia to win, or do you want Florida State to win?
I mean, I want Virginia to win.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. Listen, if they win, that shows that Florida State's not so great, and we certainly should beat them.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you look at, all right, so the weekend that Miami plays Florida State, like the other ranked versus ranked game is 17 Alabama hosting 18 Vanderbilt, but that's not bigger than Miami Florida State, which is going to be a top. I mean, as long as Florida State wins this week, that's a top 10 matchup.
Yep.
So nothing's better than that. No, so I think College GameDay will probably be in Tallahassee. We'll get College game. Obviously, it's going to be more about Florida State with them there, but Miami's going to get the College GameDay game 2 games in a row, I believe.
Right. That's good. That's what you want. You want to be like it used to be, national TV games the whole nation saw, and usually we would beat them or whoever else was on. Wasn't there one point in time we were in the late 80s? We were 6-0 against the number 1 team. Every time we played Oklahoma, whatever, we always beat them. We were 6-0. And the 30 for 30, that's what they kept on saying. That's not true anymore, I don't think. But still, we knocked out the number 1 team. Every time we played them. So, maybe Mel Bratton will have to make some phone calls like they did when Bosworth was here. They'll do something, But I'm looking forward to that game. Right now, I'm thrilled. I have a week off. I could control my anger and my anxiety. Let's go Cavaliers.
Let's go Cavs. All right. Huge thank you to Bruce Warner, the Truth Teller. Thanks to all of you for making Locked On Canes your first listen. Smash the like button and subscribe to Locked On Canes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your pods. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow. I'm going to have Brian Smith tomorrow. We're going to do like a crossover teaser, even though we're still the extra week away from Miami, Florida State. We're going to talk some Miami versus FSU with Brian tomorrow on another episode of Locked On Canes.
Hey, I want to be on with Kenton Gibbs and you. I watched that show yesterday.
Okay.
I had a million opinions and I can't say anything because you
really?
Yeah.
All right.
I being on that with him and you.
All right. Well, we're going to talk more about on the next Locked On ACC. We're going to be talking about the ACC going to a 9-game conference schedule, which everyone else has already done. But also mandating 10 Power 4 games. So you have to schedule a non-conference Power 4 game, which I think is important. So we'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.